Good evening, everyone. I call the Thursday, September 19th, 2019 meeting of the Johnson City Board of Commissioners to order. This evening, we are very privileged to have Pastor Tony Birchfield from the Keystone Free Will Baptist Church with us tonight to say our invocation. If you would all rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's an honor to be here with you all. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for our city council. Lord, I pray, God, for wisdom. Lord, I pray for understanding for them. Lord, I pray, God, that throughout this meeting, Lord, that they discern between the good and the evil, Lord, and I pray, God, that you bless them in a mighty way. Bless them, Lord, and their families, God, and I pray, God, keep a hedge about them. Lord, as they go throughout this year, Lord, leading our city, Lord, I pray, God, that hedge of protection about them. Lord, I pray for our staff, Lord, my co-workers. I pray for our management, and I pray, God, for our citizens, Lord. I pray for each and every one, Lord, of our community. Lord, I pray, God, thank you for this day that we have, the ability to live in Johnson City. What a great place to be. Lord, we just want to take this time and this opportunity just to praise you. In the name of Jesus, we do humbly pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, your first order of business is consideration of the minutes of your regularly scheduled commission meeting that was held on Thursday, September the 5th.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any other comments or questions about the minutes? Ms. Jennings.
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Next order of business will be to go to proclamations and resolutions. The first being a presentation of a proclamation recognizing the Johnson City Cardinals as the Appalachian League champions. We could have
The rest of you can come out too. You wanna come on? Come on out. I'll be sliding into home plate right here. Well, Zach, thank you all so much, and I'll have you introduce who's with you here in just a minute after I read the proclamation. But we are so proud of our Cardinals and for the incredible season that you've had and for all the fans that you brought to TVA Credit Union Ballpark. It makes me proud when I go over that way and see the crowds that are over there. So thank y'all for all your hard work. You've made that a really, really active and kind of engaging place, so we appreciate that. So it's a real honor to read this proclamation, which means y'all won to be able to get this proclamation. So whereas the Johnson City Cardinals defeated the Burlington Royals 8-6 at the Burlington Athletic Stadium to win the league's final two games to one, and came home Appalachian League champions. And whereas the Cardinals took advantage during the first inning, leading 3-0 before the Royals could swing a bat. And whereas after a few rough innings, the Royals were up 5-3, but the Fighting Cardinals never gave up. And whereas the Cardinals took back the advantage in the seventh inning with an RBI single followed by a two-run double into the right field corner and a single run off the baseman's glove. And whereas this is the Cardinals' 13th championship and its 5th since 2010. And whereas tremendous sportsmanship, integrity, and character were demonstrated by pitchers, and I have the full roster right here. I think I'm just going to read their first names because some of them I can't pronounce. So pitchers: Ale, Will, Francisco, Jose, Luis, Dylan, Tyler, Enrique, Julio, Wilberto, Walker, Jake, Hector, and John. Catchers: Aaron, Zach, Christian, and Kyle. Infielders: Ben, Mateo, Todd, Malcolm, Rafi, Chandler, and Kevin. And outfielders, say that one. Diomedes. Trajan. Victor, William, Carlos, and Juan? John. And John. And whereas the team was led by an outstanding manager, Roberto Espinoza, pitching coach Rick Herrick, and hitting coach, I've massacred these things, and hitting coach Brian Bergamy. Now therefore I, Jenny O'Brog, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, do hereby congratulate the Johnson City Cardinals on a remarkable season during which they successfully and admirably represented our area on the field. We are proud of each of you. So, Zach, if you'll say a few words about what it was like from your perspective, and then you can introduce our others here.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. This is an amazing honor, so we appreciate it. Yeah, this team, the headline after the championship, it read something along the lines of the team that wouldn't quit or something like that. And we just started the season and we were in first place, and then we kind of got through the third of the season and 2/3 of the season we're still in first place, and we're kind of like, oh, we didn't really think this team was going to really do that, you know. But they just kept going. And then we got towards the playoffs, and we had 6 elimination games, 2 against Kingsport, 2 against Bristol, and 2 against Burlington, which was in the finals, and they won all 6 of them. So that just doesn't happen in baseball. So we're really proud of this team and their effort and their ability to not back down. So that was the biggest thing. And then from our side of things, we had over 80,000 people come through the gates this year, which is a attendance record for us. But that was a number that blew us away. We were certainly very excited. Having the playoff games helped
And last year, the
edge that.
ballpark was given an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Ballpark of the year.
Yeah, Rookie League Ballpark of the Year. That was the second year in a row. This year we got edged out by Pulaski, who are in our league, so we gotta pay them back next year. So we've got some exciting things coming that I think we can get that award back and hopefully defend the Apple League title. But it was a fun season. And to my right, this is our assistant GM, Kat Deal. I want to give her a shout out. She was the most outstanding female executive of the year for the Appalachian League this year. So congrats to her. And this is our CFO, Doug Kirchhofer with Boyd Sports. So he came down from Kodak to see us tonight.
Well, thank you so much, and I guess you know we kind of really have a partnership with the city with Boyd Sports, and that was one of the best decisions we ever made to kind of outsource the ballpark to you guys. But we also have Dr. Fowler here, spends a great deal of time taking care of everybody.
Had a good year, injury-wise, too.
Very
so
healthy team this year.
It was great.
And,
It made it easier.
More than once, I got to throw out the first pitch, ace pitcher, so we really love it. But thank you. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. And here's the proclamation. And please tell Randy for us that, when he comes to town next time to look us up, we'd love to go over and play ball.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We got a couple of things right there, if you'll take those. They're for you, okay? We want you to go all out.
Thank you. Your next item on your agenda is a presentation and acceptance of the 3CMA Savvy Award that was received by the Communications and Marketing Department, and for their hard work on the development of a brand and logo. So Keisha,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Mayor and Commissioners, as some of you remember, more than 2 years ago, we started a journey of self-discovery is the way I look back on it now, because we never had a brand before, and we really learned a lot about ourselves along the way. You all very wisely selected North Star destination strategies to guide us through that process. And it was about 6 to 8 months of research that went into developing this brand. We learned things we didn't know before from both inside our community and outside our community. And they took all of that information and developed creative elements like a logo and color palette and a signature look and a tagline, Go All Out, that reflect who we are to the world. They did it in a beautiful way that has been recognized by the City County Communications and Marketing Association. This is a savvy which is a first place award for the brand. So congratulations to you all. Congratulations to our city, because this is our brand and it's been beautifully embraced by our partner agencies, by our citizens, by our employees, and we're very proud and honored to present it to you.
Well, Keisha, first of all, I want to thank you and your staff for really being the drivers behind making sure everything kept flowing in the right direction. And now, as the brand is rolling out, I know that your department is foremost in that leadership. So we thank you, Mr. Peterson. I want to thank you as well. When we, started this endeavor, it was like maybe this is a little out of our comfort zone. But when we got to where we are right now, I think we're all very, very pleased. And I think for me, who gets an opportunity to speak a lot, the go all out little, I call it our slow-go, and last night I was doing a welcome to the Harley Davidson Hog Rally, so I could say hog all out, so, but it's been great. And I think probably some of the other commissioners would like to have a word or two and what it's meant to us. You're up.
Oh, you're looking at me, I get to start. Well, that's pretty good. Well, I know that when I have on anything that has the new logo on it, I just wish I had a whole lot of stuff to sell at that point in time, because people say, where'd you get that? And it's starting to be recognized, and people are starting to wear it, and you see it, and it's just been a really good transition. So congratulations to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Deploying a brand is an exercise in discipline and decisiveness and design, and Keisha has brought that to this effort, and her team, JT and Anne Marie. So I applaud your effort and all the city staff who go all out.
Yeah, when we started this, gosh, almost 3 years ago, that I wasn't sure I was going to be patient enough for this to be finished, but I think it was worth the wait. So thank you for hanging in there and getting this to go all out everywhere.
I think my first meeting on the city commission was the rollout of the branding, so I didn't play a huge role, or really any role, with the research and development, but it is amazing to see people throughout town wearing the shirts and asking, where do you get it? And I mean, it's a great brand, and the slogan or slogo is something that's easy to get people excited about, so great job.
Thank you all. Thank you for your support of the brand. Thank you. As ambassadors of it, we appreciate it.
Good job. Next is consideration of a temporary occasion license for Adam Gratz to serve beer at the Hills and Hollers Hog Rally event on September the 20th. All the appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors, and the recommendation is for your approval.
We'll do these two, and then we'll do it. Is the applicant present? Okay, if you come forward, please. If you would state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Erin Knapp, and I work at Barley Waters at 100 Spring Street.
Okay, and have you read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of alcohol in our city?
Yes.
And do you agree to abide by those?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners?
I move for approval. Second.
All right, any other comments or questions? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. And speaking of the hog rally,
Yes.
you want to tell about the event?
Yes, so tomorrow evening, they're going to be doing the Hills and Hollers Hog Rally down at the Pavilion in Founders Park. It's from 5 to 9 o'clock. There will be live music, food trucks. Barley Waters will be serving alcohol there, beer. We're expecting anywhere from 1,000 plus bikers down there, as well as 2,000 plus people. So it should be a lot of fun. Think of it as an extended Founders After 5 event.
The 1,000 are motorcycles that will
Yes.
be there. So if the public wants to see some incredible motorcycles, come downtown, and it's quite a sight to see. I'm sure they're seeing them all over town right now. We've all run into them, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is a temporary occasion license for the Chamber of Commerce Foundation. This is a temporary occasion license to serve beer at the Tell It To Me 90th anniversary of the Johnson City Sessions event that will be held on October the 19th on Main and Buffalo Street. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors, and the recommendation is for your approval.
And we all know you, Ms. Whitson, but you have to state your name and address for the record.
Brenda Whitson, 603 East Market Street, Johnson City, Tennessee.
And have you read the rules and regulations on the sale of alcohol in our city?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree to abide by those?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Commissioners,
Move for approval.
Second.
a motion and a second. Any other comments? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes. And this is particularly a very interesting thing in light of what's going on in the documentary around country music in East Tennessee. So why don't you share with what we're celebrating?
The Johnson City Sessions is a great opportunity for us to celebrate what those sessions meant. They were recorded in 1928 and 1929, more so in 29, by Columbia Records, so by the Columbia recording at that time. So people were asked to come. Can you play old-time music? To come and be invited. So more than 100 different recordings were made in Johnson City at that time. So the importance of the sessions is not only the influencers that they had on lots of artists today, but it continues to influence all kinds of genres of music, both country, rock, folk, bluegrass, Americana. So I think that we'll see that significance even continue, and I think the Ken Burns special and the highlight that's being put on Bristol and the sessions over there will really only add to being able to get people to come to Johnson City and experience our wonderful city and help them to, go all out for music.
If y'all have not seen any of this documentary,
Yeah.
it couldn't be
incredible.
better. It's an
Yeah.
eight 2-hour
Yes,
sessions, I
yes.
think,
Yeah.
on Sunday night on PBS.
Sunday night on PBS at 8 o'clock.
And this, the last one this past Sunday was about the Bristol sessions. And the two groups that just kind of came in off the street to play, to get recorded, was Jimmy Rogers and A.P. Carter. And his wife Sarah.
Yes, Sarah.
And Maybelle.
Maybelle,
again,
uh-huh.
yeah. So the rest is history there. And
Yes.
so that was really kind of the first recorded country music. And of course, you see what Bristol did with it. They started the birthplace of country music
Right,
museum over
exactly.
there.
So if you will allow me to come to the, I think, have you already voted?
No.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you vote then. I don't want to be out of order.
Yeah, we did. We
Okay.
did.
If you'll allow me to come to the podium, I want to present to you, I don't know how you're going to play it, because I realized in my new car,
It's a
I don't
CD.
have a CD player.
Well, that's
But I
still
have one at
cool.
home. So this is from the Bear family in Germany that produced this singles
Wow.
recording, or single of the Johnson City Sessions, Tell It to Me. So,
I get this in vinyl.
yes, there will be a vinyl record
That
player
would be
there, so
cool.
there you go.
That would really be cool.
Well, thank you very much. And the,
Thank you.
it's tonight, right?
What?
Tomorrow night? When is the?
No, it's a Monday.
It's
In October.
It's October the
month from today.
Sorry about
19th
that.
on a Saturday.
Okay.
It's the week after Bands of America.
Yeah, Brenda doesn't wait till the last minute. She's a
Well,
month
I
ahead.
had the 19th on my mind, and that's tonight. I thought, well, we can't get
Thank
there,
you.
but.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda, thanks so
Appreciate it.
much. Mr. Peterson, we need to add something to the agenda at this point.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes, from what I understand, I think staff pointed out that we could add additional members to the JCDA board, and I'd like to add that issue to the agenda tonight.
All right. Is it in the
Consideration.
form of a motion?
It is?
And a second?
Second.
Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Where are we putting it in the
We're
agenda?
going to deal with it right now.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, that's
And
easy.
Commissioner Calhoun, you had a motion?
Yes,
for-
I'd like to place in nomination Seth Thomas for membership. I think he was on the original list that the JCDA had for recommendations that have been vetted for new members. I think he'd be a good addition to the JCDA. Business owner downtown, and sort of fits a profile that we're trying to get active in our community. So I would put his name in nomination.
Does that require a second or a nomination?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter.
Before I vote, and to add to what Dr. Calhoun has said, I know that Seth has been very active and actually attends the meetings as is currently on his own accord. So he's very interested in involved, and I think that's a great recommendation, so yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Very good. We'll get a letter out to you in the morning.
Very good, thank you.
Your next item for consideration is the consent agenda.
Commissioners, would you like to pull anything?
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Calhoun? Vice Mayor?
It's a pretty short list. No.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes,
Okay.
the first item.
Okay. A1, Commissioner Fowler?
None for me.
Okay. And I was going to pull A1, but also I was going to pull A4 just for a couple comments on that. Okay, so A1.
You know, just for the general public's benefit, my concern was just to have, you know, a general explanation.
Explanation.
Yeah. Jenny, or
Janet?
Mayor?
Yeah.
I'll let you give the explanation, please.
Okay. I believe back around 2006, the city designated a tax increment financing district for the purposes of addressing some of the blight in the downtown area. A lot of the buildings had gone into a state of disrepair. We were struggling with encouraging some of the developers to locate and to do some improvements in the downtown area. So with the development of a tax increment financing or TIF district, what that kind of arrangement involves is you set the base taxes for the year, and any increment, any growth in that area in the subsequent years would go into a fund, so to speak, a TIF fund. This particular fund is administered by the Johnson City Development Authority. So we've seen that grow now to incremental taxes of about $372,000 now, 13 years later. So you can see some folks have been, as a result of having some of these monies available, they have invested in the downtown area. And when I say downtown, the TIF district goes out as far as this side of ETSU. It goes down it goes down Walnut Street. It comes all the way down to the interstate on this end, and it goes up towards Science Hill. So it's a pretty large area. It's about 1,800 parcels. Some other notable improvements have been the University Edge Student Housing Complex. That's been a very, very valuable asset in the community. There have been a number of improvements in the downtown area, the downtown proper. One such project that we experienced a few years ago was some condos on Tipton Street. So those are just a few of the investments. The Northeast State, some of that has been handled through TIF. So we're excited to see what we can do in the future. City manager may be able to address some of that more, but it's been a very valuable source of funding to get the downtown growth.
And this is the use of both city and county
It
property
is city and
taxes.
county.
Yes.
Yes, it is. The farmer's market was a big recipient of those funds. So when you review the payment we're making, you'll see those debt service payments come out of these revenues, and there's still some additional revenues that the JCDA has use of to encourage the growth in the area.
Looking at the base due, I guess, at inception compared to where we are now, that net, I guess, equates to about a 35% increase in tax collections, which to me is a pretty good return.
Yes, very good.
And that's just from the property values increasing in the TIF
Increased property
district.
values.
Right.
Yes.
And just to describe that tool a little further, you know, what you're trying to do is level the field between redevelopment of old buildings and greenfield development, where you know what your exposure is. You buy a piece of land and you start building on it.
a number of these buildings, whether it's the project on Cherry Street or projects on Commerce, are buildings that had significant challenges. They either had a disparity in the floor from one end of the building to the other of 3 or 4 feet pitch, or had other environmental questions. And so TIF allows those projects that would otherwise not be viable to become viable,
Absolutely.
Been a
in
good
addition
tool.
to being successful purely on the numbers.
Thank
Any other
you.
question?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, on A4, my question, I read it several times and I couldn't determine. This is for design, barge design, we'll be doing the design work for this water line extension.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it also the installation?
That is not the installation. That is design, owner's representation on the project when it is under construction, and then the normal contract and construction document administration once the construction project is up and running.
And that's for 14,000 feet of new water line.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And most of that is out on South Run Street.
When is that project likely to?
14,000 feet of design is probably 6 to 8 months of design work. So we'll probably bid it hopefully in the spring, and it gets started July, August of next year, probably.
It's a big project.
It's a real big project,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
And we
And
have-
most of this is 12-inch line, so it's big pipe. It's not a project that'll run quickly through design or construction, either one due to the.
So businesses and residents out in that area are going to see a real improvement in their water flow
And it will give us a lot of redundancy and enhanced flow and pressure throughout the system by being able to make those connections with a big water pipe versus multiple pump stations, which we're using today. That'll result in some significant maintenance and operating cost reductions as well.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thanks. Is there a motion to pass the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, motion and a second. Anything else? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
This takes us to ordinances for consideration on first reading. The first one for your consideration is ordinance number 4705-19. An ordinance to amend section 7.1.3.4 on minimum standards and conformance for sign setbacks, and section 7.3.4.2 on permitted signs for non-residential uses of the zoning code of the city of Johnson City. Is ready for your consideration on first reading, and Mr. Ryder will explain the changes to your ordinance.
Ryder, you're on.
Mayor, Commissioners, before you is a request, a staff-initiated request to amend the sign regulations of the Johnson City zoning ordinance. If I'd be allowed to, there are really 3 changes, and I'd like to go ahead and I can cover all of them, similar to the way we do annexations with rezonings. So with your permission, I'll do that in that format. Thank you. There are really 3 purposes for the proposed changes. One is to eliminate several discrepancies found within the zoning text itself. The second is to provide uniformity and consistency throughout the code. And the third is that the proposed changes should enable businesses to have greater visibility, the greater ability to advertise without negatively affecting the aesthetic nature of some of our more high-profile commercial corridors. So the first issue would be to eliminate all erroneous references to the B3 zoning district found in section 7.3.4. Article 7 is the section of the zoning ordinance that deals with sign requirements. If I could call your attention to this slide, you can see section 7.3.3 pertains to sign regulations in the B2 and the B3 zoning districts. Section 7.3.4 deals with sign requirements in the B4, B5, I1, I2, BP, and PB districts. And then in the very next line, it says the following regulations shall apply in the B3. The B3 is already covered in section B2 or 7.3 with the B2 and B3 districts. And then there are some other references to the B3 sign requirements in the B3 that continue throughout this section. So we're proposing to eliminate all of those changes and because they're already covered in section 7.3.3. The second change, we just have a slide that has various types of signs that we have in the city. Over here on the left, we have ground-mounted or commonly referred to as monument signs that can be no greater than 10 feet in height and must touch the ground at all points at the base. We have examples of these here, two different types of freestanding signs, like a pole sign and a two-column tenant panel. And then we have our projecting signs, which you commonly see downtown. The way the code is currently written, a business in the B4, B5, I1, I2, BP, and PB, and if you will, I'll refer to that as the B4 plus from now on if I have to refer to that. They allow businesses to have monument signs or a freestanding sign or a projecting sign. The proposed change would allow businesses that elect to have a ground-mounted sign to also have a projecting sign. Encourage the use of ground-mounted signs. It also, which should make the corridors more aesthetically pleasing, and it gives the businesses also a little bit another option for advertising their businesses. And then the third change would be to reduce the minimum setback for the following types of signs. Freestanding signs, except in the B2 district. Those freestanding signs, construction signs, directory signs, and ground-mounted signs from 10 feet to 7.5 feet, which would provide uniformity and consistency with the code by aligning the minimum setback for those types of signs to correspond with the 7.5-foot drainage and utility easement. I just put a couple examples of properties with their setbacks in town just to sort of, a lot of businesses tend to think that their property line starts either at the road or at the sidewalk, and you can see by these, the actual property line is set back quite a bit away in some places, and then you add on another 10 feet from that property line. We believe that reducing it by 2.5 feet will allow them to have greater visibility along the road without changing the character of the corridor. I've spoken with the city engineer, and he states that reducing the setback would not interfere with any underground utilities, and it would also provide consistency by taking out some of the confusion of having different types of setbacks. That setback of 7.5 feet, that will not apply. The site triangle distances will still, at corners, will still be based on a 10-foot setback. The Johnson City Regional Planning Commission recommended approval of these changes at its August 6, 2019 meeting.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any other questions for Mr. Ryder?
This had got a lot of conversation at the Planning Commission, and I think there was a lot of questions, and I think the staff should be commended for simplifying this and sort of moving some things that might have stopped us from doing something that was, I think, very appropriate by having other issues that were going to be dealt with at the same time that might be more controversial. So I think the Planning Commission was very supportive of this direction.
Was it a unanimous vote by the
I think it
Planning
was.
Commission?
Was it not unanimous?
This was,
Yes.
as proposed, these changes,
Right.
yes, were unanimous.
Was this developed with like public input, or was there a subcommittee that kind of focused on this, like y'all do with some things?
I've been doing the sign permits for, I guess, since about October of November of last year when I officially took over that duty. And I've seen a few requests that have come in where businesses have wanted to do something along these lines of doing, of having the sign companies that have wanted to, one, they've had issues with setbacks and properties like these. and they've wanted to use projecting signs. So in collaboration with a sign company and a couple business owners, we've talked about this, but no widespread
Sure.
discussion.
Well, you talked to the professionals, so that's good.
Okay, Commissioners, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Pryor.
Your next item for consideration is a resolution to annex a portion of certain property located within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, adjoining the present corporate boundaries of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee. Said property being known as the Brummett annexation, to zone said property R2B, low-density residential, as described herein, and to amend the zoning map of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee accordingly, being a part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, is ready for your consideration on third and final reading.
Pryor?
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a request to annex 51.43 acres of a 68.02 acres lot adjoining Boone Station and Highland Church Road. There has been a change in ownership since the time of the second reading. Property's been conveyed to Shadden Springs General Partnership, and they have elected to continue with the annexation and the rezoning request. Fiscal impact analysis has been based off a 94-lot single-family development. Total net fund estimate is $493,427.60. The plan of services involves extension of necessary utilities to the site and the provision of other city services in accordance with city policy and as outlined in the services plan appended to the annexation request. The applicants have requested R2B low-density residential zoning, which permits single-family development with a minimum lot size of 9,000 square feet. This zoning is compatible with the existing single-family zoning districts and is consistent with the future land use map. And the Johnson City Regional Planning Commission recommended approval of the annexation request, the approval, or the plan of services and the zoning assignment to R2B at its July 9th, 2019 meeting.
So this property is contiguous with city property on the, is that north side there?
Actually on two sides.
And down in this corner.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got some gaps there in between, but
This property here is in the city and it's contiguous here, here.
that's Michael's Ridge or something?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Commissioners? We have a motion.
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion of staff or comments?
I have had reservations not about this annexation or this project, but what we're talking about is annexing a portion of the parcel. And my reservation, and I'll voice it again, is that the plan that was drawn out shows essentially, if I recall, two cul-de-sacs off of one common entry. And my reservation is that if that were to build out as it's being annexed now, there you see it. So that little hook
Right.
to the bottom, you know, coming in off of the entrance there, you would have folks in one subdivision that were relying on two different jurisdictions for delivery of service. So conceivably, and I know they're kind of envisioning patio homes and a clientele that probably won't have a lot of school-age children, but as soon as you make plans for that, it'll attract school-age children. You'll have city school buses and county school buses servicing the same neighborhood. And I've just questioned the wisdom in that. Now, you could work around that by creating some distinction between the two. I just have reservations with approaching a subdivision from its monument, from its gateway, and then driving in and out of the city limits within the confines of that subdivision. And for that reason, I have reservations. It likely has the necessary votes, but may the record show, I don't think this is the way to organize this.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Hope we can continue working with this developer, and that parcel will wind up in the city as well in the future. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other comments?
Well, I guess kind of to that, this is highlighted as potential, so it's not, this annexation is not tied in, they're not binding between what we're seeing here as a preliminary layout.
No,
could
this
change.
is a potential, if you will, a potential preliminary plat. The area in the city, basically, this 94 single-family lots, and then this is about 45 patio homes, but there's nothing binding to this concept plan. It's not a concept plan, there's nothing binding per se, but it's clear that the developer intends to develop this property and something along these lines.
And couldn't hit that density without tying into the city sewer that we're making an investment to bring out there. And along those same lines, it may not be binding, but a month ago, the former owner of this property was describing his plans to still farm that section. Well, I don't think that's in the cards now, that it's transferred ownership. So I don't imagine they paid somebody to draw the pretty picture of all those houses.
Sure, I understand.
With too much theory in mind.
And with water, I mean, the county residents would pay a much higher rate. And I do have concerns about, coming off the school board, the issues with, school, that realtors, not knowing city and county, selling a patio home listing it with a city school as a potential zoning, which would be misleading and confusing. And then also bus services.
I think your frustrations are well-founded, and that is the crux of this annexation. And we're of course, as you know, we're limited with the actual requests that we get for the annexation.
Mr. Ryder, what was the estimated number of school children that might be in this?
Let's see.
I think there's a formula someplace, but I think we're seeing our Johnson City school population increase quite a bit.
71.28,
And
not
the-
71.28.
And is that, what school district is that? Is that Woodland?
That is
The Woodland?
Woodland.
Okay. Very good. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other comments? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes. Commissioner
Hunter,
I'm going to vote in favor, but I do hope the consideration for that additional piece to be annexed is looked at a little bit harder.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Reluctantly no, for the reasons I stated.
and Mayor Brock.
Yes, with the same caveat that Commissioner Hunter said. We would certainly like to see that annexed as well to keep it kind of whole. Yes.
The next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4701-19. Excuse me. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled "An Ordinance to Adopt a Code of Laws and Ordinances for the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by assigning a R2B low-density residential zoning to certain property within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, known as the Brummett Annexation," is ready for your consideration on third and final reading.
Since you all went ahead and did it, I'll go ahead and make a motion to apply a zone to it.
Okay, you got it. We've got a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second. Any other comments? Appropriate zoning. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Ryder.
Your next order of business is to consider approval of a resolution to amend the amended and restated certificate of incorporation of the Johnson City Energy Authority. As you are aware, The city of Johnson City is the municipality behind what was the Johnson City Power Board, and we were in support of and helped get the legislation approved, and you subsequently approved creating an energy authority, which was then named Bright Ridge. And as a part of all of that, they had a certificate of incorporation, which created the Johnson City Energy Authority, known as Bright Ridge. At this time, they are asking for some changes to be made, and this request comes from their board. The big changes are that the current certificate of incorporation calls for the city to have a supermajority on the board of directors with your appointments. These changes would change that to simply being a simple majority of the board of directors, so you will still have a majority of the appointments to be made. This is taking into recognition, should the Energy Authority grow or become bigger and there are additional seats on the board, you would still have a majority, but it would not grow exponentially in number to where it became too large of a group. The other change is currently an appointee from the city can serve 2 terms, and then they must miss a term before being reappointed for a 3rd term. This change would allow someone to serve 3 consecutive terms on the board of directors. And I'd be glad to answer any other questions you may have.
And that doesn't mean that they would automatically serve 3 terms. We still have the appointment
They would have
after
to be
each term.
appointed at the end or reappointed at the end of each term. That is correct. Counselor, was there anything that caused you any alarm or concern? Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioners, are there any questions or
Would
anything we?
move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. And that kind of leaves my 3rd term appointment. We still have to do that. And it took this action for me to, I've requested a 3rd term, and so we'll get it on the agenda next time. I serve until we get the next appointment, but we'll get it on the next agenda.
Is this where I kid you and ask you if Mr. Dykes requests that you be reappointed? Yes, ma'am, we will get it on the next
Okay.
agenda.
Let me bring up one thing. I know each one of you received an invitation for next week for the electric cars, and I think we all are beginning to realize that, particularly in small areas where commuting and all is concerned, that we're going to see a real uptick in electric vehicles. Bright Ridge is beginning to install the infrastructure for charging stations. We'll get one at, where's the location at Founders Park?
I
Mr.
believe it's
Peterson?
going in right next to the new
The pavilion?
facilities building that's going in there on King Street.
Well, that's over at King Commons, but there's one over at Founders also by the
That one will be
pavilion.
under the sign that says plug your car in here.
I have no idea. I wasn't aware that there was one going in at Founders. I knew the one at King Commons, but I wasn't aware of the other
No, I
one.
think there is one over there too. So, but anyway, and we're going to Greenville next week to drive all the electric cars that are on the market today. So if you've ever wanted to drive a Tesla, go with us. Be
No
neat.
one said anything about a Tesla.
There's all the different kind of
5
cars.
different types of electric cars
Yeah,
they're going to have.
yeah.
So
So if you have the time, want to go, come on down.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, we leave here at 2 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, and we'll be back by 2. So come on down. Pete, you may want to do that, or somebody from Motor Pool might like to come in.
We actually have, not fully electric, but we've got probably a dozen hybrids that are electric gasoline. Yeah, they're very efficient.
What do you think about it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Next on your agenda is the manager's report, and I'd like to start out by calling Mr. Trivett up. And I've asked him to give us an update on some of your construction projects that we have underway.
Oh, a PowerPoint.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity. The city manager asked me to do an update on all of our construction projects and our capital projects that we're currently working on. And he asked me to stay within 5 to 8 minutes, so I'm going to have to really zoom through because we have so much going on. But if you have any questions or see something that piques your interest, just stop me as we go through. But all these projects that I'm getting ready to bring up are ones that we are currently in construction on or are working in planning, design, and schematic phase right now that's coming up within this fiscal year. So I made a list at the beginning and broke it down into 2 different categories for the Johnson City Schools, their capital projects, and then later on we'll get into the city capital projects. But if you look at this, number 1 would be the Liberty Bell Middle School gym and cafeteria. I did provide you all some more detailed updates in your packet for that project to let you know some timelines and things that are going on with that. Topper Palace, the gymnasium, to refinish the floors and install new bleachers. That project's still ongoing right now, and I'm working with the schools to do that. Topper Academy, the gymnasium, installing new athletic flooring. Indian Trail Intermediate School improvements, that's the plan. It's in the planning and design phase right now. The architect's working on the design. Roof replacement for Cherokee Elementary and Topper Academy. You guys approved tonight some architectural design fees for that project under your consent agenda. School maintenance facility improvements, it's in the planning and design phase. We're working on schematics and design drawings right now to do that project. All schools, all the elementary schools, middle schools, intermediate school, every school that's in the system, about 14 different locations, we're working on 4-year security and upgrades. Some of it's as simple as changing the swing of doors. Some of it's going to be a little more complex, building some walls and doing things. So we're working with the drawings now. Joe Barnes and I are working on doing the drawings, and then we'll meet with the state fire marshal to get approval to move forward with those projects.
Peterson, if my memory serves me correct, this is about $5 million worth of capital funding for our schools this year.
Yes, we did. It was either 4 or 5, and that is storage. What's going on at Indian Trail is about 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of storage so that they can use some dressing rooms, I think, that they're using for storage rooms now.
And their band and some of
band
their orchestra.
instruments and
Yes.
orchestra instruments and stuff. So yes, this is reflective of a number of the projects we've got.
That's in addition to the
Liberty Bell.
10 million.
Correct.
On the Liberty Bell, 10 or 11 million
Yes.
for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've made a significant investment this year.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the
For these
things I was
needed
going to
things.
mention to you at the end of this presentation is all these capital projects that we're talking about total up to a little over $20 million. So, but Liberty Bell's a little over 10 million, which covers half of it, or 50%. So when you cover Liberty Bell Middle School, I just made some bullet point notes to give you some updates on it. Shaw and Shanks are the architects that are working on that. Burwell Construction Company is the general contractor. There's about 40,000 square foot of new construction that's in addition to the existing middle school. The total project budget is $10,748,879. That includes all architectural fees, all accessory fees, and everything that's associated with that project. Estimated completion time is June the 30th, 2020, and currently the project's approximately 18 to 20% complete. I took some pictures to show you. This is the actual gymnasium floor. The bar joists that you see in place now are where the bleachers will set, where the crane's in the center. That's the gym floor, and the crane is actually setting the roof structure and structural steel on that. This will be connected to the cafeteria. All this will be waterproofed and backfilled to be at the same level so that you'll walk directly out of the cafeteria into the gymnasium as it goes across. And then this is turning around, looking back toward the middle school, and those piers that are being formed up to be poured are the piers for the connector corridor that will come through from the school to connect to the cafeteria. The footers are already poured on this side for the cafeteria, and they're laying block in that area.
That's not open air, is it? Or is it?
It is not, it's enclosed, brick enclosed. Topper Palace and Topper Academy, the bleachers and the gym floors. Southern Flooring Incorporated is the contractor out of South Carolina.
I had one more question. So
Okay, sorry.
you think June 2020, we're still on track for that?
We are, and those dates that I gave you, to kind of look at the pertinent dates in the more detailed area, I confirmed that at our progress meeting this past Tuesday with our contractor to make sure. They're working some Saturdays, possibly even some Sundays. They've developed some other ways they're going to finish the block. They changed block contractors to get more people in there, to get block going faster. So he's working to make up some days, but he feels very comfortable with the dates that he's got set of July the 1st or July the 2nd of getting finished. There's always some things that'll come up, but we're out of the ground everywhere now, so there's no more worry about bad soils or anything like that of that nature. So other things that would come up would be structural steel issues or something that would be easily remedied and taken care of.
And I can't remember, what was the final decision for the basement area?
It will be left gravel like it is right now. But it does have windows and exit doors that walk out onto the ground, but it'll be unfinished basement.
Can that be developed later? I mean, is there
It sure can,
enough headspace
absolutely.
now?
It will be sprinkled, and so the only thing to develop later that would have to go in, that would be a pretty large expense, would be an elevator that would have to go in to go up to the gymnasium floor.
Concrete the floor? Or
Pouring the
finish-
concrete, there's plumbing that's going in, there's a mechanical room and the boilers that are down there. So everything, all the utilities would have to be ran through the walls and however you would petition it off. So, you're talking maybe, if you want it, depending on what you want to use it for, but you're talking about $2 million to.
But it's all flat then? I mean, all they have to do is put flooring in?
It is all flat now.
Thank you.
How many square feet do you think that is left in the basement?
It's almost half the size of the entire, so it's close to 18 or 20,000 square feet. Yeah. It's a big space. And like I said, it has windows that look out onto Morningside Drive and doors that walk right out onto the grade. Topper Palace and Topper Academy. With this contractor, the total budget for those bleachers in both gym floors were $233,598. They began this project back in June. They completed both gym floors. The Topper Academy was a complete tear out and redo of hardwood maple and then refinishing it. Topper Palace was just sanding down and refinishing. Bleachers are scheduled to be delivered September the 30th, and they'll take them about 2 weeks to install the bleachers, and it'll be all brand new bleachers. You can see tearing out the old bleachers. Those had been there for quite some time. It took them a lot of time to tear out the old bleachers at the Topper Palace. It was somewhat of a mess, but they've now got them all torn out and refinished that floor. And then this is the new hardwood maple that they installed at Topper Academy, and it's been finished and base is put down too now, so they're able to use that floor. Indian Trail Intermediate School improvements, as you were talking a little earlier, what that is in the design phase right now. They're going to renovate 16 classrooms to make those classrooms science labs and science classrooms. That estimated project cost is $320,000. Also to construct about a 6,000 square foot storage addition, as Mr. Peterson was saying, to the rear of the property. It'll be adjoining to the school, and I've got a drawing that shows where that goes and to give you an idea of what it looks like. These design documents should be completed in February, bidding in March, and proposed construction start date of April. Everybody, when you're doing a school project, always wants to say, well, let's try to plan on it when school gets out, but school's only out for 2 months now, so you can't do a construction project within that kind of 2 months. So for this construction of this storage facility, it'll be able to easily segregate from the rest of the school, just like Liberty Bell is, and start that a little early. So hopefully we can start that in April and have it finished and completed by the time school starts back in August. This is the floor plan. It's 2 stories at Indian Trail, and so each wing, there's 4 different wings, And so each wing will have 2 science labs converted, giving it a total of 16 on first and second floor. And then the storage building goes in the back. Here's the auditorium. You know, there's a big parking area that comes around in the back, and there's a large grassy spot right there off of this outside dining area that's right here, and that'll be where the brick storage area goes to be built into the school. Okay, so I didn't talk about some of the other things I read at the beginning because those are ongoing projects with the roofs, and they were pretty self-explanatory with the schools. But going into city capital projects now with the Langston Center, Johnson City Police Training Facility, Public Works Storage Facilities, Solid Waste Recycling Building, Downtown Breezeway Wall, King Commons Park Restrooms, Johnson City Transit HVAC Replacement, Cardinal Park Asphalt Roofing Replacement, and Freedom Hall Arena Electrical Upgrades. So you can see this year that you guys are getting your money's worth with me with all these projects.
So, just 2 quick questions, if you go back to that one.
Sure.
The police training facility, is that complete now?
It is 100% complete.
Have they moved in?
They have moved in, and they're setting up their furnishings. They've got their new furniture desk and everything and moved in.
We're going to have ribbon cutting, Mr. Peterson?
I think they're still waiting they just got their furniture in, and so when we were down there today, they were setting up their desk and getting all their shelving and stuff put in, but I think it'd be close to time but you could do that pretty soon.
Definitely like to go out and see it, for sure. We've been waiting on it a long time. And the other is Downtown Breezeway. When is that going to start?
I've got a lot of that following up on this if you want me to.
All right.
Yeah. So the Langston Center, GRC is the contractor. That total budget project, including everything, was $2,289,000. The estimated completion date's November the 15th, but that has a caveat to it because the contractor, GRC, they're approximately 98% finished. So the inside of the building is pretty much completely done. They're doing punch lists right now, touching up some paint and doing some things where we've walked through to point out to them. Public Works scope of work out there is to do the site grading and to put the sidewalks in and put the parking lots in and all those things. And so they started this week, and they've got about 5 to 6 weeks to complete. And Public Works is, Mr. Penzola is the one who set that November the 15th date. It could be sooner than that, but that's kind of allowing them time for weather and the things that they've got to do to pour all the concrete on the outside. On the inside, though, I don't know how long it's been since any of you may have been down there, but this is all polished concrete, and they were able to put the colors of the school inside some of the areas, and this is the main corridor. They also did some graphics on the wall, enter to learn, depart to serve. I think that was the school motto, and so it turned out really good and I think their mascot was a tiger, golden tiger. I better make sure and say that. This is the upstairs multi-purpose room. That is the original gym floor that was there after it's been refinished, and all the windows have been placed and the brick been painted and everything done. That looks really, really good. I mean, I love the reflection off the floor on that. This is downstairs in the media space where they're going to have the recording studio, and that's what that room is with the carpeted in that area. The police training facility is 100% completed. J.E. Green was the contractor. The project budget was $1,106,000. Total completed construction cost was $1,044,993. And so I enjoyed putting this parentheses in of under budget of $61,877 on that project.
Just paid your salary.
So that worked out really good. Project's 100% completed. Police department's moved in and setting up furnishings right now. This is what the exterior looks like right now as it's been finished. The interior, this is outside the office space where they're going to have staff conference room and staff meeting, and that's polished concrete as well. We upgraded from VCT to polished concrete, and I love it. It works perfectly everywhere. It's a very good idea. This is down the corridor between the 2 spaces. When you come in the front door, that's the front door and the public restrooms. This is their kitchen area beside of their large meeting space. And that's their large meeting space with the stage for them to do their training and everything that's in there now. So it's a beautiful, beautiful building. It's set up and laid out very well. I think they'll get a lot of good use out of that. And they'll probably have a lot of people calling them wanting to use it as well. The Public Works Storage Facilities, this is the old Bolton Block property, so we try not to call it that. We've called it the Public Works Storage Facilities. Mitch Cox is the contractor. Total project budget, including construction and architectural fees, is $2,996,220. They have began construction on August the 19th. They're working on grading and putting in retention ponds and stormwater now. Estimated completion date is May 2020. The project consists of 3 separate buildings with a total of 35,450 square feet for all 3 of them. This is the architectural elevations. If you notice, this is building 1. It's fully enclosed with garage doors. Building 2 is half enclosed and half open for storage of equipment. And then building 3 is all open. It's just equipment and a vehicle storage space. They're grading currently, and this is the most amazing dirt I have ever seen, where that block is just crushed and the dust and all, but the soils engineer's been out there and says it's an amazing how tight it is and how good it is to build off of. These aren't heavy load-bearing walls or load-bearing buildings anyway, but when you walk through, there's a cloud of dust that follows you as this cement comes up. The solid waste recycle building, it's downtown in the service complex. Armstrong Construction Company was the contractor involved in that. The total budget was $563,000. Construction began August the 26th. Estimated completion dates in December of 2019. And this project consists of modifications to the structural steel on the roofing structure and then replacing a lot of damaged concrete masonry unit walls. As you can see, the structural steel was so damaged that we had to put temporary shoring up in case there's a weight on the roof, so the roof wouldn't come in. And so they're installing more shoring right now in order to start tearing out these steel rafters that's going in here, and then they're going to put I-beams in there to give more clearance into the space. Also, we're having to take out conduit and things that we're running through and move the electrical systems and mount it to the walls. And so that's them working on doing that project. So that project's moving along really well. Footers have been cut into the bottom. All new piers and new footing and new structurals will be installed to hold up all the structural steel. The downtown breezeway wall, Mitch Cox Construction was the low bid contractor on that project. The total project budget, including architectural fees, is $141,411. Construction scheduled to begin the 1st of October. I talked with Mitch Cox today, and they're ready to start. We're working on getting the contract through with the architect and getting their insurances all approved and getting their notice to proceed issued. But they're going ahead and ordering and submitting submittals on the projects so that we can get that approved. Our goal is to have everything completed by December. They feel like they'll be able to do that this year, to get that done hopefully before all the holiday seasons go on.
For the public's knowledge, is that going to be closed off during construction, or is there anything they need to know about passing through there if it's open?
It will be closed off. Like right now, half of it's closed, so they'll be able to do some of it with half closed once they get the footers in and get all the overhead stuff completed. When they start actually laying the brick veneer, they'll be able to open half of it back up till they get up so high again. But it'll be back and forth, and I don't know if that's a benefit or a harm. You know, it may be just better to announce we're going to close it, but there's so many people who use that that if we can keep it halfway open but keep people safe and barricade it, we will.
Are they going to have to do repair to the wall, the existing wall right now, before they put the brick veneer over it?
We are going to have to do some, and I'll show you this drawing. This is the drawing of the way everything's going to go back. We did a test pit and dug up the sidewalk and next to the wall to see what kind of footing was under it. And it was so old, it was back when they did brick corbel footings, where they just started brick on the ground and they spread it out low and then they just staggered them back in till they get to a point where they can build the wall off of it. That's the type of footing that's in there. So we've got a design to core that and put some rebar in there and pour a new footing on the outside to stabilize that and make it wider and a bigger footprint to set the new wall on. So that's part of this contract. And then the brick veneer goes up 15 feet, and then there's precast concrete caps that go on it. And then the brick veneer, the new brick veneer, goes all the way up on the corners and turns around onto Main Street. and turns around on the backside to State of Franklin parking lot. And then all of this brick that's in here will be repaired, and where it's missing, new brick will be added, and then it'll be waterproof and damp-proofed. Because JCDA is getting a presentation ready, and I don't want to spoil their thunder, but they're getting a presentation ready to go to the Historic Zoning Commission to look at painting that. And they're actually even wanting, they like the plaster that looks like windows that's up that high, that they said they may even consider getting an artist to paint some historical figures, faces or something like they're looking out a window. So I don't know all the things they're
Yeah,
going to do.
they've had a design for that, about 3 or 4 years ago to really fix up the corridor. And one of the things we saw when we were in Chattanooga is how these breezeways and different sidewalk areas they had really made very attractive for the downtown.
And they have a
enjoy
great
that.
plan of how they're going to paint it, put some shade structures, put some benches and some landscaping. This project puts in conduit so that our crew, facilities management, can go down and install lights that have already been purchased. That'll be the teardrop lights that'll hang. So this project will be very nice when it gets done. This project has been, I feel like, and I've told the Historic Zoning Commission this when I went to them a couple times, my nemesis since I've been at the city. This was one of the first projects they gave me. Even during my interview, when they were talking to me, they said, we've got a wall that we need somebody to take a look at, and this was what they was talking about, so I'll be glad to get this done. And I stayed anyway.
Don't let him leave either.
No.
And then King Commons Park restrooms. Barge Design Solutions was the architect to do the entire project for the city's 150th birthday celebration and all the things that's going on in that park. But Mitch Cox is the contractor for the bathroom part alone, and the total project budget is $0 because Mitch Cox's company has decided to donate their labor, material, and subcontractors and everything for that project, which is wonderful for building these bathrooms. Construction began on this project in August the 5th. The estimated completion date, they told me, is November the 1st. That's what he's telling his subs, and that's what they're pushing to do to get completed, so that it gives Public Works some time to do sidewalks and things that they need to do up to it. The project consists of constructing a masonry brick restroom facility. Here's what the elevation looks like from the architect's standpoint. Very nice bathrooms, nice roof, brick, and everything that's going to be involved in that. And then this is the construction that's actually going on now. They're framed up for the doors. They're laying this block. And I went and took this picture Tuesday morning, and now the block's done. So that's how quickly they're doing that. So all the rough-in plumbing slabs been poured. Johnson City Transit HVAC replacement. Henry Welch, who's with Mechanical Design Services, was the engineer on this project. Norwell Company is the contractor. This was a total project budget of $596,000. The project began in May 17, 2019. Estimated completion date is October the 1st. We're getting really, really close at finishing. The project consists of complete demolition of the entire existing HVAC system, all the ductwork. They had old boilers. They had a very old system that's just piecemealed in there. Everything was demoed out, replacing it with all brand new equipment, rooftop units, mechanical units inside, and all new ductwork. You can see in the mechanical room, these are some of the new units. This is half of them. There's another wall over here that's covered with the same thing. They're still installing some of the vent piping. Some of the gas lines are going in, so they're still working. This is the downstairs lobby. They took out all the ceiling tile and all the grid to install all this new ductwork and the new vents to run all the way back into the office space and at the dispatch, putting the grid back, getting ready to start putting the ceiling tile back in. The TVA Credit Union Ballpark asphalt roof replacement, that's with the Cardinal Park. We had some clubhouses that the shingles, if you remember, I had some pictures a while back when you approved that project, was in really bad shape and missing. This project was $40,000. Completion date's October. We were thinking in 2019. It consists of 2 clubhouse buildings, re-roofing, repairing a small section of soffit and guttering. You can see as they were putting the shingles on, we used a better type fabric felt to go underneath it for longevity, and we also went with architectural shingles. This is the completed shingle project. The only thing that's left to do to finish this project is they got a small section of soffit they got to repair and replace a few sections of guttering, and then they'll be completed. Freedom Hall, and this is that getting to the last one. Thank you for holding in there with me. Freedom Hall Arena electrical upgrades. Holston Engineering was the electrical contract or engineer. Lloyd's Electrical Service out of Knoxville was the low bidder on that. Total project budget is $110,000. Construction began August the 15th. Estimated completion date, and this is a drop dead date that I gave them because of how much activity is coming up at Freedom Hall that they're going to need this, is October the 9th. I think they're going to beat that deadline date, but that's the date they've got to get finished. It consisted of removing that large electrical connector box on the arena floor. I don't know if you all noticed that when you go to watch games there or something, but there's this huge electrical green box that sat right down on the floor. Is like in the way of everything. And it was very dated on how it was wired, and it wasn't the safest thing once we started tearing it out. So removing that and installing new panels behind that wall into an electrical room, and then putting pass-throughs and cable connectors through the wall that will connect into there so that you won't have to roll out all those connectors and do all that stuff around the basketball floor. Here's that box gone. We patched the wall up with block and everything, and then this is a ditch that's dug for ETSU's ball games when they put all those scoreboards around the floor. The end of the floor sets right close to this ditch, and those cables will go down under a metal cover and then go back into the room to be connected to the panel box. Here's the panel boxes that are being installed on the other side inside the room. This is the one that connects from the ditch. That'll have concrete, and it'll be a cable tray that will connect to the scoreboards. So projects that are in design and specification phase, these are things that I'm working on now that we're either designing or gathering information to try to move forward on. Freedom Hall skylight replacement. Those skylights are old and leaking. Carver Recreation splash pad and exterior restrooms. Rotary Park restrooms for their splash pad. Tannery Knob restrooms. Security and safety upgrades for the municipal building. Security and safety upgrades for Memorial Park Community Center. ADA self-evaluation survey of all city facilities, and cartograph asset inventory. That's the last slide.
Wow.
Any questions?
Well, you took 8 minutes.
Did I? All right. I didn't think I'd get through fast.
You got your 8
enough.
minutes in.
Thank you. Thank you
Mr.
guys so
Trivett.
much.
Thank you.
We appreciate so much. A few years ago, we were always wondering about the maintenance of our city buildings, and I think we all can say we have a lot of confidence that they are being maintained well and protecting that on the benefit for the taxpayer. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I enjoy doing it.
Okay.
I really will keep this less than 8 minutes.
Oh, you just set a challenge there, didn't you?
No, this, I promise. You had asked about an ordinance on short-term rentals. That is in process. Planning is working on drafting that. We've also passed a scooter ordinance on first reading, and we discussed that a little bit on Monday night, and planning's in the process of making some adjustments and talking to ETSU on what we're going to do there. EMS, as you all know, you appoint half the board at EMS. They recently began service in Unicoi at the request of Unicoi County. They're doing that currently with reserve trucks that they had until Unicoi receives delivery on new trucks that Unicoi is buying, and the reserve trucks will go back into a reserve role. They have hired they are not using their existing employees to provide service in Unicoi other than when they have a vacancy or a gap, with the goal being that the equipment and the staff will be in place when Unicoi takes over their own service provision at the beginning of next fiscal year. The agreement between EMS and Unicoi is for 1 year, and at this point, the EMS board is pretty firm in their position that we're going to do it for 1 year in order to get them up and running and help them work through things. But that's going really good without any impact on service delivery in Washington County. That's been a good project. Of course, you've read in the paper about our efforts to solicit additional information about properties in Hill Rise to ensure that everybody's got a chance to review the information about their structures and report any inaccuracies that we can forward on. The state board did unanimously recognize that property for a eligibility yesterday, as was reported in the paper. Buffalo Valley Stream Bank credits, the Corps of Engineers has reviewed the initial work plan as submitted by our consultants and made a couple, 4 or 5 comments on some alterations to the plan they'd like to see. Those have been done and the plan's resubmitted. If everything goes well, we should be to the point that we can begin construction documents for the stream bank enhancements sometime here in the next probably 30, 45 days, those should be complete in order that Public Works could go out there and do the work sometime late winter, spring, and the stream bank enhancement program could be fully implemented and ready to go, hopefully by probably the end of the fiscal year would be a safe timeline on that.
That's really not a capital project, is it? Is it just an operating
It'll be an operating cost because we'll have machinery and personnel out there doing the work. The only real cost here is the design work and the consultant's fees to get all of our permits and approvals by TDEC.
And we will have to purchase some types of buffering.
There'll be some vegetation. I mean,
Vegetation.
it's basically going to be vegetation and some shaping of dirt, and probably perhaps addition of rocks in the creek or removal of some man-made objects that may be out there now and that are too close to the creek.
Do we have any idea about how much it's going to cost us to get this ready, to get the stream banking?
We do, and I don't have that information with me. I'll get that and get it out into an email to you all tomorrow. I'll get that from Phil. We're working with the university to do an extension of the existing lease at Freedom Hall. Their lease expires at the end of this basketball season. We've been in discussions with them for probably 6 or 8 months about a long-term lease, and we've indicated to them that with the forthcoming retirement of Ms. Chamness and the fact that the students will be leaving that building and going into the new gym, that we want to do a 1-year extension so that we can get a new building management in place and work through the details with the new management of the building rather than committing to a long-term lease at this point before they have a chance to give us some input and guidance on how we feel like that building would work best now that we don't have a student population in that building.
And are they okay with that?
They are, yes, ma'am. In fact, Scott Carter's got it, and as far as I know, it's running through their legal and going up to Dr. Nolan for his approval. The mayor and I met with the mayor and managers in Kingsport and Bristol 3 weeks ago, thereabouts, to begin talking about the preparation of our legislative agenda for next year and when we might go to Nashville to meet with the legislators. That's going to be scheduled sometime probably mid-January. Once we get a date firmed up, and I know Bristol's is the host city this year. They're working to get dates and locations and everything set up now. Laura is working now to set dates for budget workshops next spring, because I know that even though we're only 2 months into this fiscal year,
He hates us.
I like budget. We want to get some dates on your all's calendars as far in advance as we can, because we know everybody's got demands on their time and things that we have to work around, so we figured the earlier we could get started, the better.
I'd like
And-
also for the commission to be able to kind of weigh in a little bit on how the presentations would be most meaningful to us, what kind of
Yeah, how we receive the
information we
information.
want.
Sure.
Get some consistency in it, and then, so we'll work together on that.
And we're hopeful that the staff's goal is to have you all approve the CIP before Christmas. So you'll be hearing more about CIP. Staff's been working on the FY '21 capital plan already. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have beyond that.
Anyone have any questions or items you want to add to Mr. Peterson's list? Okay. I had one at the end, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I'd like for you to consider and talk with Chief and I guess Anthony and different things. We just have a speeding problem in town, Chief. People just drive too fast, and I don't know if we can do something to bring more awareness about it, what tools we have available to us. I did see one of your officers out today, and I slammed my brakes on because he had his radar gun out.
Did you drive by Northside today?
No, no.
I did.
It was someplace else. But I really would like to see us kind of work on this, particularly because people are so distracted driving, and then they're speeding too. State of Franklin's still an issue, and now I shared with Mr. Peterson the other night, I've had probably 3 calls already here in the last few months, just about Bristol Highway, and of course the increase in traffic out that way as well as development takes place. So anyway.
Jenny, I'm going to have to disagree there. I just got a speeding ticket myself.
Oh,
And
good.
I'm just trying to live the go all out motto. And, but the worst part about it is not that I got busted by the police department. I got busted by my wife through my youngest daughter ratting me out about the ticket.
Is there anything else, Mr. Peterson?
No, ma'am.
Our next item is public input.
Yes, ma'am.
So I will open the public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to the commission or who has filled out any paperwork to do so? Okay. And I see some of our folks from out in Boones Creek area. Since we were here last time, we don't have any, or at least the commission does not have any kind of information other than what we had at our last meeting, but I do understand there is a neighborhood meeting that's being scheduled for.
It's, we've got a meeting set for Tuesday from 6 to 7 here at City Hall. We'll do it back in the admin conference room unless we get a really big crowd, and then we'll probably move it in here where there's a little more room. We did receive the 60% plans yesterday or the day before, and we got those out to Ms. Miller so she could look at those. And, we've got those folks that we had phone numbers for, Beth has called. Those we've had emails for. I think we've been sending emails about the meeting, and we sent letters to all the property owners that went out this morning about the meeting.
Well, we hope a number of residents can make it to that meeting. You'll be seeing the information before this commission will, so we may have to come to you and find out about it.
We haven't received an email or a phone call or a text or anything. How do we make sure that our name and number is on that list? Because now you're taking out all water source on our farm, and it's the only place our animals can get water from.
If you'll see me after the meeting and give me your contact information, I'll make sure that we get a hold of you in the morning. Be glad to. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming tonight. If there's no other, I'll close the public input. Commissioners, do you have any final words?
Next meeting, come prepared for your flu shots.
That's right.
So,
Boy.
on camera, no passing out this year, please, and that'd be good. But Lake Pharmacy students are going to be coming, and we're going to try to make sure that you get students that this is their first attempt.
Great.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not a problem.
I'm just glad to get a flu shot. Thank you for
Yes,
doing
no
this.
problem. I think we're supposed to wear our
Your yellow, yeah, everybody
No,
kind
the-
of did it, but you're going to.
The gray.
That's right.
Yeah,
Gray
Oh,
golf
our
shirt.
gray golf shirts. Yeah.
that's right, short
Gray
sleeve.
ones
Short
or the
sleeve.
black one?
The gray one.
Gray.
Help me remember.
Yeah.
I don't
Commissioner
think we
Hatter?
want.
Oh, sorry.
No, we don't want to do that.
Anything?
Did you have anything?
For me, the Health Insurance Finance Committee met. One of the great things that's happening is that the utilization of the employee health clinic has increased from year 1 to year 2. I think, and I've left my notes in the car in respect to this, but I think we're about 83 or 87% utilization, with nearly 1,000 more visits year over year. So that's great to see that increasing. The unfortunate thing is, in the last 2 years, there's been, from what was given to us, significant increases in claims. Now, over nearly half a decade, we've not seen an increase in our premiums, but that might be something in the budget that we might be looking at in the future. And the second, the library board has moved their meeting date, which conflicts with a standing meeting that I can't miss due to work. So if that's a requirement for a city commission representative, we need to.
Do we have to have a commissioner on that, Mr. Peterson? I know we designated, like,
I
Clinton
don't think it
Stout's mom.
requires a commissioner, but we'll double check.
We
I mean, ever
appointed
since
Mary
Ralph wanted
Stout.
to be on the library board, I know we've had a commissioner on there,
It's a great board,
but I'll double check and,
and I hate that I can't be a part of it. But
yes.
Well, we'll just need to get an announcement out and see. In fact, we have some applicants from the last time, I think, that we're looking, don't you remember we were asking them to find maybe subcommittees that, because we had such a good applicant pool. So maybe, Mr. Peterson, you can get them to pull the former applicants, and that was only a few months ago, which would be good.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Fowler?
It is Science Hill Homecoming tomorrow night, playing Jefferson County, so everybody come out and support. Hopefully, we will win homecoming game. It would be nice, so.
We need to schedule a block of time for our follow-up strategic planning meeting. Let me just ask if the odd Thursday, I know several of y'all take Thursday afternoons off, so the Thursday we don't have commission meeting, would you be willing to start maybe mid-afternoon and I don't know what the date would be, but we can look at our calendars right now. But I would like for us, after our trip that we've taken to Chattanooga, to come back and kind of get our plans in place. And
That would be Halloween.
6.
Talking about as soon as
31st.
October 10th?
Oh, you're saying in October?
I'm not saying anything, I'm just having y'all look at your calendars.
We do have
The
26th.
fifth meeting, the fifth Thursday of October, we don't have a meeting, is the Halloween, the 31st.
No, I was talking about the Thursday in between our meetings on a Thursday
Like next
afternoon.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I know Commissioner
It'd be
Calhoun and I
10th.
are gone on the 28th next week.
Yeah,
You're
how-
looking at the right dates.
What about the 10th? In the afternoon on the 10th?
Is the 26th next week not good? Okay.
He and I are both out of town.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have,
I'm good with the 10th.
I'm good with the 10th also.
Good with the
I got-
10th.
or
Okay.
After the tree dedication at 10:30 a.m. or whatever, I don't have
We could-
anything till
right.
6:30 that night. So
could you start at noon if we brought lunch in and,
we could probably start at 11 if we're all going to the tree
okay.
dedication.
All right. Mr. Peterson, would that work for you?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get your library board appointments squared away.
October the
about-
10th for our follow-up strategic planning. It's a
There's
Thursday.
There's a tree dedication that morning at ETSU at the stadium, and maybe just come from that, go straight over here for.
Right.
I think it's pretty easy for me because we have basketball tryouts that week, and I know we're not going to go anywhere for fall break. So yes, I'll be here.
Okay, big guys. So,
ETSU, the Bank of Tennessee Intercollegiate Golf Tournaments. We've got a dinner that night, so as long as we're done in time to go to that. I'm
that sounds
okay.
good, and we will work on getting a agenda in place, and would request if y'all have some preferences to get your thoughts into Mr. Peterson, we'll get it captured. All right? So one other thing, we have the State of Tennessee Senior Women's Golf Tournament here at Johnson City Country Club, Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Really?
I'm not playing in it, but
not
may
playing.
go out and hit a ceremonial tee shot for them or something. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of women in town here from all over the state. Be a good event.
Didn't know that was here.
I know, so I'm telling you. Anything else, Janet? Anything for you?
Well, that's funny you ask.
Okay, I could just tell you had something on your mind.
Well, one of the big events coming up for us is tax season. So I've submitted all the paperwork to the state for the tax billing, and we received Sullivan County file today. So hopefully Washington County and Carter County will follow shortly. So you should be looking in your mailbox within the next week or two for your tax bills. Please don't lose them.
I thought there was a happy look on your face.
Pay early.
Okay. All right. If that's it, meeting adjourned.
The 10th at 11.
The 10th and 11th,
Okay.
right after that tree planting ceremony on it.
We'll need to advertise, so I just put it.
Yeah,